Okay, so the topic that we decided to do for the Living History Night is the Age of Exploration. My name is Olivia Angelozzi, and the explorer that I did was Christopher Columbus. So Columbus was born on October 31st, 1451 in Genoa, Italy, and he began sailing when he was just a teenager. Columbus married Filippo Moniz Pipistrello in 1477. In his early life, Columbus studied cartography, mathematics, astronomy, and navigation, and these lessons were valuable for his future voyages. Christopher Columbus sailed his ships for Spain. The reason the Spanish royalty agreed to finance Columbus' voyages was for riches, wealth, new routes for trade, and the expansion of the Catholic religion. Explorers were sent out to sea to find new trade routes. They were also sent out to sea to find new lands to claim and bring back wealth to the country they represented. And as I said before, Columbus represented Spain. Columbus made a total of 4 trips across the Atlantic Ocean in 1492, 1493, 1498, and 1502. The 3 most famous ships that Columbus used were called the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The goal of Columbus's first voyage was to find a shorter trade route to the East Indies. One of Columbus's most famous voyages, which was the first one, led to Columbus in search of India. And when he landed in what is now America, he mistook it for India and named the indigenous people Indians. And finally, he died on May 20th, 1506.
Samuel de Champlain was born around 1567 in Bourgogne, France, a seaport on the Atlantic coast. He was a commodore who made a name for himself as a navigator in his expeditions in the West Indies and Central America. He joined the army in 1593 and served in the army for 5 years, until King Henry and France's victory in 1598. When the war ended, Champlain joined his uncle, Captain Provencal, on a mission from the king to return any captured Spanish soldiers to Spain. They delivered the soldiers to Spain, but did not return to France. Between 1599 and 1601, Champlain made 3 voyages for Spain. During these years, he visited the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and Panama. Along the way, he recorded his journey. In 1601, he wrote a detailed report to King Henry about his trip, which included maps and drawings of plants and animals. He even mentioned the idea of a canal that should cut through Panama to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And 300 years later, this would be seen in the creation of the Panama Canal. He was the key to French expansion. He founded Quebec in 1608, which is now one of the oldest cities in Canada. Some of his most important explorations in the north were New York, Ottawa River, and the Great Lakes.
Next up, we have the soldier, explorer, and conquistador Francisco Pizarro. He was born in the city of Trujillo in Spain, and he died in Lima, which is Peru today. He is best known for conquering the Incas and executing their leader, Atahualpa. As a soldier, he served on the 1513 expedition of Vasco Núñez de Balboa, during which the Pacific Ocean was discovered. His purpose of exploration was to colonize areas of the New World and find riches there. Sure enough, he sailed on 3 voyages and found gold, silver, and food, and brought it back to Spain, his home country. He conquered Peru and became ruler of Cusco Incan Empire. Ultimately, Pizarro impacted the world by opening a way for Spain to colonize most of South America.
Next up, we have the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan. He was born on February 4th, 1480. He organized the Spanish expedition to the East Indies from 1519 to 1522. He was a sailor and a naval officer. Originally, he was in service of the Portuguese crown in Asia. However, after they refused to support his plan to reach India by a new route, he was selected by King Charles I of Spain to search for a westward route. With 5 vessels, he made it to a body of water and named it the Peaceful Sea, which is now known as the modern Pacific Ocean. His expedition reached the Philippine Islands, where he was killed in the Battle of Mactan. After he died, his ship completed the first circuit around the globe when reaching the Spice Islands in 1521.
Next, we have a English sea explorer and navigator during the early 17th century named Henry Hudson. Henry Hudson was born in the Kingdom of England, and he died in June 23rd, 1611. He was married to Catherine Hudson, and he had 3 children, John, Richard, and Oliver Hudson. Hudson discovered and sailed the Hudson River, Hudson Strait, and Hudson Bay. He also sailed farther north than any explorer before him. Hudson contributed significantly to the geography of North America, especially because of his discoveries of the northeastern waterways.
Captain James Cook was born in 1728 in Yorkshire, England. He started out as a seaman in the Royal Navy and made his way up to the commander of the first scientific expedition to the Pacific Ocean. While he was on that expedition, he found and charted all of New Zealand in the span of 6 months. And then in 1770, he came across Australia and studied the entire 2,000-mile coast, as well as navigating the Great Barrier Reef. He is credited with being the first non-native to explore New Zealand and Australia. Captain James Cook's second voyage was from 1772 to 1775, where he was sent to make the first circumnavigation of the Antarctic. That's the process of traveling all the way around the land. His final voyage was in 1776 to discover if there was a northwest passage around Canada or a northeast passage around Siberia. He was killed in February 1779 by native Hawaiians after they tried to kidnap their king. Cook and the Hawaiians had a previously good relationship, but a fun fact about the Hawaiians is they believe the power of a man is in his bones, so they cooked his body so they could easily retrieve bones.
Next up is the Spanish explorer and conquistador Juan Ponce de Leon. He was born in 1474 in Spain and died in 1521. He was known for leading the first European expedition to Florida and giving Florida its name. He also established a European settlement in Puerto Rico and served as the first governor of Puerto Rico. Juan Ponce de Leon first came to the Americas as a gentleman volunteer with Christopher Columbus on his second expedition in 1493. Legend says that Juan Ponce de Leon found Florida while searching for the fabled Fountain of Youth. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer born in 1460 in Sines, Portugal, and died December 24, 1524, in Kochi, India. With a fleet of 4 vessels, him and his crew traveled from Europe to India by sailing around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. During these trips, he traded with the locals along the southern African coast before he reached India. Da Gama was the first European to establish an ocean trading route to India, which helped Portugal create a long-lasting colonial empire in Asia and Africa. In fact, the access to Indian spice routes increased the Portuguese economy.
Hi, my name is Adriana Ludwig, and the explorer that I chose was Marco Polo. He was born September 15, 1254 in Venice, Italy, and he was a Vietnamese merchant. He was heavily influenced by his father and uncles, who were also fellow travelers, who influenced him to travel himself. He was an explorer who traveled along the Silk Road in 1217 and 1295, which he's most known for, because while traveling he documented much of Asia that was not yet explored, which was then useful in later times for different voyages and conquests. He was also a writer who co-wrote a book while in Genoese prison. And then the following slide is just a map of his travels.